Tensions at the Pan-African Parliament continuing for a third day yesterday, with members calling for the African Union to intervene. An election to vote in a new president for the next 3 years has been postponed now to October after a failure to agree on the rotation of leadership. So in an exclusive interview with Newsroom Africa, a Zimbabwean member of the Pan-African Parliament, Barbara Rotsi, said the rotation issue is crucial for the renewal of the body. Take a listen.
Pan-African Parliament is not been regarded at the highest position by the public, particularly in Africa. Whenever an institution is not performing and is not regarded highly, who do you put a blame on except leadership? So for the past 15 years, there was just this one leadership that was taking the institution and handling the institution and everything to do with Parliament. If we have problems at Pan-African Parliament, who has to solve them except the leadership? And we are saying, let's change leadership, let's change the minds, let's change the brains. Probably things will look better, and probably Africans will have the Parliament that they are looking for, because we think differently, we act differently, we lead differently. So what's wrong with rotation? Because if the rotation is implemented, in one term there will be West Mind, another term there will be East Mind, another term there will be Central, there will be Southern and North. Among us, the regions, you must definitely get a leader who will put the Parliament in the place that is expected to be.
Now, earlier, scuffles had broken out when members attempted to stop that election. Let's give you a sense of what unfolded in Midrand.
Was an election on us.
People can come and take the ballot.
No, what is the Secretary General saying?
No.
What is the Secretary saying?
Hold on.
Yes, hold on.
Rotation. Rotation is the EU rule. Rotation, nothing else.
Well, we did say at the start of the segment that it's been days of scuffles in the Pan-African Parliament. Those visuals actually coming from Monday's session in Parliament there as it's unfolding in Midrand. Let's get you some analysis of the story now. International Relations Professor at Wits University, Gilbert Khadiagala, joins us now via our video link this morning. Prof, it's great to have you on the show. Am I to understand that your take, your analysis of what's been unfolding in the Pan-African Parliament is leading you to question whether it is a body that is indeed even necessary?
Yeah, I'm asking that because I think the fight for positions is just an illustration of the deeper issues around what does this institution do?
Yeah.
I think when it was created, it had good showcase African democracy, or that at least Africans can be represented in an institution called a Pan-African Parliament. But I don't think it has fulfilled that mandate yet for 15 years. And I don't think it's going to get any better.
Well, that's the discussion. That's the discussion, isn't it, Prof? It's not that these scuffles are new. What's been unfolding over the past few days, it's nothing new. So many members of Parliament that we've spoken to are harking back to even 2008.
Yeah, it's been there for a very long time. I don't think it's new because if you don't have a role, if you don't have a mandate, the best you can do is actually just fight for positions. And so that to me structurally is really the problem here. The Pan-African Parliament has to begin to redefine what it is Africa. And I don't think that's something the Parliament is going to do. I think that's something for the African Union itself that created this institution to begin to wrestle with. Because it's supposed to represent African people. But you see, what happens is that these are national MPs who are coming out just twice a year, and then they go back home. If you ask them what they have legislated on, they are not actually going to tell you.
Yeah.
So my proposal is that in the interim, I think they should move it to Addis Ababa, where the AU headquarters is, as they rethink what it can do. Because these conflicts are not going to end at all.
Prof, you talked about, if you were to ask members of parliament what they've legislated on so far, that would be a difficult question to answer. What is the mandate of the Pan-African Parliament in terms of the difference it's meant to make on the continent for unity between nations?
The mandate is very amorphous. The mandate is simply to represent African peoples in a representative body, because we haven't had this before. You have had African leaders meeting occasionally or every year, but not an institution where the real people meet, the real people who have been elected. But here, as I said, the confusion is that it cannot be as representative until you have moved further along on the unity line. We haven't done that, so that you have elections directly for African Parliament. Here you have parliaments selecting individuals who can come here. And I think that's the big issue here. The people who represent Africa in this parliament are people from individual countries. And some of these countries also are not democracy. They don't even have parliaments in the first place. So these are people who are just chosen to come to Midrand twice a year to ostensibly represent African interests. It is supposed to be an institution that represents the people, but it doesn't actually. So that's, to me, is a bigger problem. Yeah. And then if you don't have a mandate, you're going to fight over trivial things like positions. It has been the Cameroonian who's been president of this parliament has been there for too long. Why not? If you are a democracy, you have to be seen to be doing democracy. That means allowing elections within these institutions. So if it goes into these kinds of chaos, it demonstrates that, in fact, this is a dysfunctional institution, and we need to get rid of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's absurd, isn't it, Prof, that there's no clear mandate around what the Pan-African Parliament should do? What should be given what's unfolded over the past few days, what should have been the AU's response, given that the Pan-African Parliament is an arm of the African Union?
The AU should have responded by saying, we want to bring this chaos to order. We want to make sure that there is democracy within the Pan-African Parliament, that elections can be held in an orderly manner, and that you can have a rotation of leadership from West Africa, North Africa, I don't know, East Africa. That's the pattern in other AU institutions. So this is the only institution where the power is concentrated in only one region. So I can understand the frustration of countries like Zimbabwe, who are demanding that, in fact, there be more open, more transparent leadership. So the AU should have come up and not complain, should have ordered that the chaos should stop. But it's been very quiet because the AU leadership, I think, knows that there are institutions that are created and they don't make sense, but they don't want to step back and say, we made a mistake in creating this institution that doesn't have a function at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we're hearing that the election postponed to October. I suppose the hope is that the things you've just discussed will somehow be implemented by then. I mean, can we expect that it will have a clearer mandate come October?
I think between now and October, the EU is going to take the lead and probably make sure that there is an election that is clean and transparent. But as I said, I think it's just a postponement of a problem that is not going to go away until Africa has moved further along on unity that means the priority should not be really on institutions like the parliament. The priority should be on building trade relationships, on boosting new institutions like the African Continental Free Trade Area. Those to me are more important than an institution that meets here and just meets here to literally do very, very little. They want to involve themselves in bigger issues, but member states are not going to allow them to in the kinds of issues that they can do as a parliament. So to me, the point is that it's a non-starter from the beginning. October, there will be an election probably. Somebody will be elected from another region, but it doesn't resolve the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Putting a bandage on a very, very big problem. Indeed, the big question this morning, is there any real use for the Pan-African Parliament? Professor Gilbert Khadiagala, thanks very much for your time this morning on the AM Report. It's always a great pleasure talking to you. He's International Relations Professor at Wits University.